Hello, welcome everybody. This will be the online class for economic development. One that you will attend online. Some of the classes will be recorded, some of them will be live, some of them will be in direct consultation through chat, through messages, through emails, through comments with your professor. Why we do this? The first and most important question. Why do we do economic development? What is economic development? Did economic development provide what was supposed to provide? Why do we need classes like this? Where it has been anchored, in what sciences? Was it properly anchored? Can we judge by only the definitions that international organizations have about what the development in general and what economic development in particular is? Or should we judge by the results? The issue is, and that's why we gather here, that the economic development, as many practitioners and scientists say, did not provide for the economic development in many countries where it was implemented. So the reasons why it did not, how it should provide, why it is important, especially in this time of profound international geopolitical changes, how to define what is the real purpose and reason of economic development, how to anchor them, expectations and policies and implementations and interventions in deep science and in examples and models that provided results. So that will be the basis of all what we will do in the next several months. As I said, the main reason of not having the full picture of economic development as an ideology, as theory, based in science, based in deep philosophical science, what's the purpose of that? Based in deep economic science, based in social and natural sciences. That lack, that partialization, caused for us to lose that big picture and the purpose of the economic development. That's why we will be rediscovering the grounding, the foundations, the roots, historical, philosophical, economic science, social science, natural science, psychology, and to ground it, to inform it from all these basic sciences, to pick up the elements that are constitutive blocks of economic development, and to come back again to this more narrow issue of how to provide, first of all, strategy for economic development for sovereign nation, and then, even more importantly, and the course will be even more focused on practical implementation of interventions of the sovereign economic development, how to implement it in practice. So most of the classes that we will do, first of them, like 2 or 3, will be on theory and on structures and institutions for providing economic development. And the rest, probably 12, 13, will be practical issues of economic development. So you will exercise, you will have feedback on each of the exercise throughout the modules, and you will have case study for each chapter and each part of these 16 blocks of modules of study. My name is Goran Šumkovski. Many of you know me. With lots of them we met around the world where I work. And I hope that the knowledge that I gathered in practice, working in many countries and studying in many countries, will help us together to go through this systematization of what is the science, the practice of economic development that sovereign nations around the world now need. So we have 16 chapters that we will go through. Many of them are divided in modules, 5, 4, 6, depending on the volume of that particular topic. First one, foundations. What is it? What is the economic development? Why we don't have it? Why we need it? And what we need? So that will be the one first and most important issue to set the tone for the entire next 15 chapters that will be very practical, as I mentioned, and to give foundations why we do it and how we justify why the practice, the science, and the results of research show that this is the only way forward for the sovereign nations to provide economic development and well-being for their own people. Chapter 2, very interesting. Determinants and elements for designing a successful economic system in your country. Chapter 3, implement, operationalize, and build equitable economic system. Very practical. Once you have designed it, what are the actors, what are the roles, what are the policies that you can implement in your country to implement it, to monitor it, to adjust it, and to build equitable economic system. Chapter 4, let's see what private and public investment can contribute to economic development. Chapter 5, very important, almost crucial, macroeconomy, sovereign finance, sovereign central banking, and also providing finance for development to the economy through state lending, loans, grants, or through commercial banking. Chapter 6, sectoral economic policy. How sectors are playing the role in each country. As we said, we are not prescriptive in what economic development model or policies each sovereign nation adopt and implement. But there are some general skills and crafts, how to select sectors, how to evaluate investment, which is private or public investment. Basic economic tools are necessary to use, but with the purpose to provide growth for the people of that sovereign nation and to ensure that this growth is sustainable, is long-term, and is for the benefits of all. Next one, efficient public administration, even more important. Efficient, lean and mean public administration that is not burden to the real economy. How with today's modern tools based on long practices of implementing government policies, public administration model, how it can use those new technologies like digitalization, blockchain, maybe artificial intelligence, all these things that help to maintain public administration efficient, helpful for the economic development, and not a burden for the economic development and for the real economy. Chapter 8, labor, skills, know-how, and knowledge development. So, very crucial things that we said in the neoliberal model, those issues were a little bit blunted, a little bit not allowed to prosper and flower in each sovereign nation state, because, as we will see later in the explanation, in the analysis, there was a drive in the last 30 years to, in a way, demote public administration officials, workers, employees, to pure executors of policies that have been already given to them. So there's still a big gap in knowledge, know-how, how to do things in your own way, in your own sovereign nations. Chapter 9, natural and mineral resources, infrastructure, energy. Chapter 10, technology, innovation, increase of productive service capacity. Chapter 11, micro, small, medium enterprise development. Chapter 12, local, regional economic development. Chapter 3, as I mentioned, digitalization, commerce, blockchain, e-commerce, artificial intelligence. Chapter 14, regulation and deregulation for economic development. Why it is important? Many aspects of governing, of public administration, of driving the society and the economy, have passed through the phase where you can, as citizens, as people, change them through political parties at the elections, because those laws that in the past, through selection of one or another party and party program, you could have affected, now are delegated to bodies that are called regulatory agencies, that are not elected, that are independent, and can do regulation that have same effect in importance and impact as a law, but you can't change them at elections. So the regulation for economic development, extremely important, chapter 14. Chapter 15, trade, export promotion, marketing, branding of a nation. Chapter 16, to conclude, how this economic development of a sovereign nation will mesh and fit within the international economic cooperation. How you do international economic cooperation, alliances, trade, in this very changing world that we live in. Any nation state can do better and develop more and faster implementing sovereign economic development model. Since there are so many resources tied up and blunted by the neoliberal model that they are implementing currently, and that currently prevent the people of any nation state from the West or the East to do more in providing prosperity and well-being for their people. And it is not only physical, institutional, technological resources and potential that are tied up and blunted, but more importantly, to free the human potential, to free the creative potential, and to entrust it with building such a fair and rich development and well-being for all. Given the failure of the neoliberal development model that we will analyze throughout this course to bring sustainable development to the nation states, and failure to devise alternative theoretical and practical sources of legitimacy of that model for implementing and diffusing such neoliberal model from international organizations to all nation states, there is a need for establishing a model that is taking into consideration the need for a sovereign development of a nation states in the multipolar world that is currently taking shape at front of our eyes. This analysis that we will do in this course, in this textbook, of how the neoliberal models have weakened the state functions, provides entry points for rebuilding exactly those skills and capacities of countries to design, implement sovereign state vision, strategy, and operational plans to rebuild and revive their nation states. Creating an efficient and responsive nation-state educational, scientific, think tank, analytical, implementation platforms, as well as supporting international networks will help advance this sovereign state doctrine and help the nation states share and exchange information, experience, knowledge in developing and implementing ideological, strategic, and operational plans. These are the areas where lots of work lies ahead for all of us. So how to achieve this? Why do we come here together to analyze this crucial issue of crucial importance, I would say? We need to take two-pronged approach. First of all, by analyzing the mistakes, the failures of the neoliberal model that we can see throughout the course, in practical terms, in scientific research, we can find the entry points. We can find and isolate from the history, from the philosophy, from the economic science, from the social and other science, elements that have passed the test of time and that can be included and have to be included in any new development model. So we do two-pronged approach, going deep, breaking these silos and partializations of the science and practice of economic development, going deep into the philosophical, economic theory, ideological aspects of sovereign economy, and then coming back to the surface, to the top, to these particular issues with informed knowledge and build particular aspects of this economic development theory. On top of that, beyond the theoretical foundation, beyond identifying what worked, what humanity tested through the time, and what passed these tests of times, we have to do practical applications of this knowledge. So theoretical background, several first chapters, and then lots of focus on the practical implementation, lots of exercises, lots of case studies to implement this time-tested knowledge in building sovereign economic development model in your countries. So this textbook will lie down both theoretical foundations and will elaborate on a number of particular practical issues. So it will be embedded in wider social, economic, and other political, natural sciences, and it will have interdisciplinary approach as it should have. The course is intended to equip the nation-states, governments, public and private sector companies, as well as emerging international cooperation bodies with vision, skills, and tools to first envision, formulate, strategize, operationalize their sovereign national economic development doctrines and plans. One of the key issues in the problem of implementing any concept at international stage in the last 30 years during the neoliberal agenda and neoliberal model was growing partialization of the science, put in very small silos where you cannot see from one very deep specialization and very narrow specialization to another one that affects complex issues that you should be solving. This issue of partialization is something that has to be overcome by the new generation of scientists and development practitioners. How do we do that? I met this need to know more horizontally before you make decision within your own narrow field of intervention. You have to have information from many other fields. And also, once you have that, you have to go deep down to find out the purpose of the interventions. How do they fit with the development agenda of that nation? How they fit with their national development strategy? How they fit with their mentality, with their cultural institutions, formal and informal institutions? So that need brought me to go deep into the basic sciences and foundations of sciences before the science was divided into scientific disciplines. All were philosophers, artists, and mathematicians. I had to go there, and we have all to go there, to pick up the basic building blocks and to come back to the surface where we are now and to use those building blocks, forgotten some of them not forgotten but just renamed, and some of them not used, and to put them into the use into whatever science, in particular, the field of practical work we do. So that's what I did, and that's what we will do now with you. And I encourage you to see for yourself, to check, to double check, to add if it's missing, to practice your critical thinking. Find it for yourself whether this is true. Confirm it or challenge certain issues. It's you that you should develop this field further and implement it in your own nation. So once we go down, as we said, to basic philosophy, historical sciences, to try to touch these basic blocks and purpose. Why do we do what we do at all? And then come back with that to the surface, and then we go through horizontal journey through other sciences, branches like social sciences, psychology, human sciences, natural sciences, in order to make one very comprehensive, very informed, very grounded in all sciences and practical experience of the humanity, economic model that will be beneficial for all. And a little bit about the style of the lectures. Most of them will be analysis of the materials that you have in your transcripts of each chapter, each module. So it is very important that you do reading. We will not read here line by line from the textbook. Textbook is the key, is the core foundation of the content that we discuss here. Here we analyze it further, we do exercise, we review certain issues from different angles, but the textbook and reading is very important. So listen to these modules, do the exercises, practical exercises, do the case studies, and then all of that will come together, because this will be a huge undertaking. As you can feel, this is part of a much larger project which goes not only in this huge economic development doctrine, but also goes in, you will see the other courses that you may want to attend in the future: sovereign doctrine, sovereign state development, sovereign social development, sovereign political systems. Thank you very much, and see you in the next one.